Welcome to the introductory video to the Limelight stack. Limelight's a gorgeous, easy to use and highly customizable lightbox stack for RapidWeaver. In this video we're going to look at the basic functions and how you use a Limelight stack, and then there are going to be several other specific videos that deal with the content types, more advanced usage, navigation between stacks and things like that. So this one we're just going to look at the basic lightbox stack and how you get going with it. When you drop a Limelight onto the page, you'll see that we can see a representation of the background for the modal lightbox window. In this case it defaults to a semi-opaque black color. You can also see the close icon that we've got selected, which you'll notice is a lovely SVG and is very customizable, as we'll see later. There's no nasty gobby font awesome icons in this, so everything will look polished and professional. So the stack's asking us to add some content, and this is because there are 5 different content types that we can add to a Limelight. We can have stacks content, which is self-explanatory and is a drop zone for anything you like to put in it. Video content, which is YouTube, Vimeo, or self-hosted HTML5 video. Google Maps, which is very easy to use, doesn't require any API keys, and can be either a single map or we have a multi-map mode. So if you're using several venues or several locations for your business, you can easily create links and maps to lightboxes for those for directions and those locations. And we have a web page and iframe. This allows you to import other web pages into Limelight, and because of Limelight's lazy loading capability, this can be a lot more than just lightboxing another web page, which is of limited use, and we'll see that in the separate video. And finally we have images, which can be warehoused images, local images, and so forth. Limelight is not an image gallery. There are much better gallery stacks out there, but you can use it with images. You can use it with a series of images, but it's not a gallery stack. More importantly, you can have a mixture of these within any one Limelight. Now that brings us to the way that Limelight overall works and is styled on your page. If we add another Limelight to the page, we could possibly say, just so that we can see it in edit mode, we could change the modal background color. Now if we add an image to that one, then this image is going to be in a lightbox with a green background, and add an image to that one, that image is going to be in a lightbox with a black background. Now that sounds obvious, but this is very powerful because it means that we can set up Limelight once and then create lots of Limelights within it. So if you only need one consistent style, then you only need one Limelight stack for all your lightboxes on the page. If you need a second style, like this green background or sizing or anything else, then you can use a second Limelight. You can use as many as you like on the page, but it's quick if you want to keep a consistent style, just to use one master Limelight stack and then add your different lightboxes into it. So we'll start off with just some stacks content in there for now, so that we can see a bit of how our changes affect things. And all I'm going to do is just add a paragraph stack in there. If we start at the top of the settings, you can see there's a convenience setting for edit mode, and it's collapse all child lightboxes. And you can see when we do that, the stacks in it collapse. So if we have, as I've just said, all the lightboxes we use on our page, perhaps we might have 2 different maps and we might have a web page. So they're all our lightboxes. Obviously that starts to get bigger and bigger, and particularly if you've got a lot of lightboxes with stacks content, it can get a bit big and unwieldy. And you don't want that once you've got it all set up. So if we use our collapse all child lightboxes, it's quite convenient because you can still see the launch ID for each lightbox, and you can still see the content type, but it's not taking up all the space. Now obviously you could use the stacks hide button up here and hide it, but then we don't know what's in there at all. So it's entirely optional, but there you go. So now that we've got these 5 light boxes within our Limelight stack, it brings us on to the question of how do we launch an individual light box. Now launching a Limelight is very, very simple. It just uses a class. Now you don't need to know about classes. We have a launcher stack, we have a bar stack which will generate a series of links, buttons to launch with. You can just use these as drag and drop stacks, but you can also add a class to anything you like that accepts a custom class or a CSS box, and it's just this launch ID that's specified here. So if we want to launch this stack's content with a class of my Limelight, whoops, then we just fill in that for the unique ID. So we've got my Limelight there. Now these are class names, so no spaces, no funny business, no asterisks and things like that, but you can use hyphens, you can use underscores, and don't use things that could be a class name elsewhere on the page. So try to avoid things like row and stack and things like that, and column. Just give them unique names. You might want to start them with LL or something like that. Whatever, just get a naming convention and you can call them whatever you like. So this one's got this horrible SDF's name. All the rest are still set to lightbox 1. So that's obviously going to cause us a problem, because if we try to trigger lightbox 1, which one should open? Well, quite clearly, each one has to have a unique launch ID. This is the only rule with Limelight. You must give each one that you add a separate launch ID. But luckily, we have a numpty-proof helper, which will come up. So if you go to preview mode and you've got more than one with the same ID, we can see here that it says we've got a Limelight duplicate trigger. Lightbox 1 has been found on the page more than once, and it must be unique. Now you will not get this horrible message in publish, but your lightboxes won't work for obvious reasons. So this is so we could just change this to, instead of 1, that could be 12, that could be 13. Let's get rid of that one because we've got too many here now. And that one could be 14. Now they're all different. Now we preview our page and the error's gone. Okay, so that will look after you. And to launch them, we've got various options. The easiest one is to use a Limelight launcher stack. And here we're just going to put the launch ID of the one we want to launch. So let's launch this map, which is Lightbox 13. Okay, so hit the color, hit the brightness. So we're going to set in our launcher Lightbox 13, which is what is shown here for our launch ID. And then we can use anything we like to launch it. We could use a header, we could use a button, but let's just throw a header stack in there for now. And if we now click on our header, we've launched our Google map. Okay, so as simple as that. We can do a few other things as well with the launcher. We can dim it when it's open. We can change its color and style it when it's open if you want to use other stacks, but you know, those things are obvious. So that's super easy to launch. You can launch it from anything that you can give a custom class to. So that's a very brief introduction to Limelight. I hope you can see how easy it is to use, and yet it's very customizable as well. You've got a lot of settings for the different elements, the backgrounds, the close gadgets, the loader if you've got large content that's loading, and each of these child stacks has their own options as well. So you can override things like sizes for one and use the main settings for all the rest. The video stacks will support YouTube, Vimeo, or self-hosted video. The maps are very powerful indeed and very easy to use. And all in all, it's a nice great looking, very simple to use stack. Now we're going to cover more detailed features and functions in some other videos, which are going to be aimed to be at least 5-minute shorts. So we'll look at how to limelight in a section, we'll look at the bar stack, and we'll look at a few more options for styling. But generally speaking, the styling controls are pretty obvious. So thanks for watching, and be sure to check out the other Limelight videos.